All right, I'm anxious to start here. So we're gonna kick this off, and as others come in, they'll just miss me speaking. So not a big deal. We'll get more time for the main speakers today, and I couldn't be more excited to get to the meat of the conversation today. So here we go. Welcome everyone. I'm Andrew Robinson. I'm the 115th president of the Adcraft Club of Detroit. 115. That's exciting and daunting at the same time. Founded in 1905, Adcraft is the oldest nonprofit marketing association in the entire nation. It's considered a model for other organizations in our industry. We hope to keep it that way for many, many years to come. We accomplish this through education, professional development programs, and other organizations. In Detroit Creative Award shows, D-Show, and scholarships that help the next generation of marketing professionals. None of this happens without you and the collective support of the Detroit marketing community. So thank you for all your support over the years, and thank you especially for tuning in today. On behalf of our entire Adcraft board of directors, thank you for the support. I'm extremely excited for today's program as we close out our GM webinar series. This is the fourth installment of the GM webinar series, but certainly it's the last but not the least. Today we welcome GM Global CMO Deborah Wahl. But first, before we get to that, a few thank yous are in order, starting with the Adcraft board member extraordinaire, Mr. Robbie Hawka. Robbie, thank you so much for putting this program together. Along with the help from Janelle Tischer, I think everyone would agree that this was one of the best programs that Adcraft has put on in quite some time. No pressure, Deborah, but I think that'll hold up after today. As a nonprofit, we couldn't do all this that we do for the Detroit marketing industry without the support of our sponsors. So a huge thank you to our premier sponsors of the series, McCann Detroit, MRM, Commonwealth, McCann, and Weber Shandwick, and to NBC Universal for supporting today's session. So today's fireside chat will be moderated by Krysty Sagnia, EVP, Executive Account Director at McCann Detroit. Thank you, Krysty, so much for moderating today. And it is now my pleasure to introduce today's featured speaker, Miss Deborah Wahl. Deborah was appointed General Motors Global CMO in September of 2019. She previously served as the Global CMO of Cadillac. Prior to joining General Motors, Deborah served as the Senior Vice President and CMO for McDonald's from 2014 to 2017, where she played a key role in the brand's turnaround, proudly bringing all-day breakfasts to McDonald's consumers. Personal thank you to you for that. I'm a huge McMuffin fan, so great job there. In addition to McDonald's, Deborah has held a number of CMO and marketing leadership positions, including at PulteGroup, Chrysler, and Lexus. Deborah is an active business leader who serves on the board of Groupon, as well as the board of trustees of Cranbrook Educational Community, and she's the chair of the MMA board. What doesn't she do? We are so thankful that we are able to grab some of her time today, and thank you for making yourself available to the Adcraft Club of Detroit. So please help me give a warm Adcraft welcome to Deborah and Krysty, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Andrew. That was a very warm introduction. And Deborah, thank you for your time today. I'm going to start off with that because we know we have an hour, but that time is going to fly. And I think for everyone in the ad community, this is such a special opportunity to spend the next hour with you, to understand more about you, your career trajectory, the changing role of the CMO, evolution of the GM culture, and what we can expect from GM and the vehicle brands for the remainder of the year. And as Andrew said, over the last few weeks, we've heard from some amazing female executives, right? Melissa Grady, Cadillac CMO, Laura Thornton, Marketing Director, Global Connected Services, and Megan Stuke last week, Director of Global Brand Experiences. And now it's you and I. So we're going to chat away. Everyone, we've got on our navy blue and our pink. We're ready for spring, and we're bringing it to you today. But I must say, I have been so inspired and encouraged by all of these conversations, all of these marketing professionals, especially because we're all women and we're holding it down. So sit back. I will say that we will have time for Q&A, everyone. So those questions that you're thinking, oh my goodness, Deborah Wahl, I've got questions for her. Think about them, write them down, put them in the Q&A, and we will do our best to try to get to them. But let's dive right in with you now, Deborah, about you and your career. We know here with our Adcraft Detroit attendees, we know we've got several students and young professionals on the line. And they are aspiring to reach the heights you've navigated for years in senior marketing positions. So for our students, are there courses or experiences you would recommend they pursue? And then for our young professionals, what opportunities should they seek as they work to move through the ranks?
Thanks, Krysty, and hi, everyone. Really honored to be here, and thank you, Andrew, for that introduction, and Debbie for inviting us. This is always a great opportunity because, as we've learned, through the past year, community and connections are the thing that matters most among everything. And Krysty, I'm excited today to be able to, that we actually get to spend some time, frankly, just chatting. So hope everyone's okay with that because we're gonna have some fun. And you can't see it, but I have this great bright pink belt on that I was trying to bring. You brought the spring colors despite the fact that we're gonna have snow tonight, like another typical Michigan April. So here we go. So I was thinking about your question just now, and I always kind of laugh about, that question because I think my first message to everyone is that there is no typical career or career path or anything. As I look back and people have asked me that, I'm like, oh my God, I basically made all my choices based on passion, like what I thought would be interesting and cool at the time, where I wanted to go in the world. One time I took a job in France because I love Paris and I just wanted to live there. And it was an amazing experience. And I went to Sao Paulo because I thought it would be really interesting to learn Portuguese and Brazilian culture. And yet all these other amazing things happen along the way. So I think that's my first message to everyone. Like, your career is long. There's no moment when it's the end and it's the only thing. And, there's a lot of opportunities out there. So I would encourage everyone, especially when you're young, to take it easy. Don't put too much stress on yourself. Just, follow what really makes you really light up. And then the second thing I would say is always take a challenge. Like, I think that the best career moments come when you take a challenge that that terrifies you, or that you think you can't do, or seems like something, monumental, or something that's transformative. And I've always found those opportunities to be the absolute, best thing that can drive a career. And then I think, for everyone, if you're young, curiosity, networking, constant learning. I mean, here I am, I'm sort of at the other side of my career, I'll put it that way. And I'm still learning every day. I'm still reading. I mean, I was spending, all weekend reading about the cookieless world and what we're going to do, and thinking about strategy and learning new terms and going on to that place. So I think that's why I love marketing overall, because it constantly changes, never ends.
Well, and I think that's a great point, right? That continuous learning is such a critical part of it. You never stop learning, and that curiosity and keeping that want and need for finding out new and different things. So, you are a role model for so many aspiring marketers, right? You've been a part of so many storied companies and brands. We heard that from Andrew in the opening. Who or what has inspired you during your career, and has your inspiration changed through the years?
Yeah, what a tough question, because as you think back, there's so many people. I mean, I think we're all made up by the people that we interact with, and every opportunity to interact with someone, I learned something a lot. So I will give a shout out to Dr. Harry Cohen. He's my favorite. He's been my mentor and my steadfast friend, because we developed that relationship for years. And he's the guy who always tells me the unvarnished truth, which I think you need in your life. And he wrote a book recently called Be the Sun, Not the Salt, which some of you have heard me talk about. It's really inspiring to really think about how do you shine positivity on people, and that helps all of us get to our best possible selves and deliver the best possible outcomes versus throwing salt on someone's ideas and trying to show that we're smarter. Now, I have to say I don't always live up to that, but it's my aspiration every day that I can do it. And then I think about so many other inspirations from good people that I've been around all my life, like Mary Murphy, who's been steadfast in this ad community and who always helps set me straight, to Mark Royce, who's unbelievably inspiring. There's no one with more passion in the entire car business, and no one that's more fun to work with, because he keeps it real. He's so humble. He's an amazing leader. And then he figures everything out. Like, he's building things in his own garage every day, and then coming back to us and saying, well, I spent the weekend rebuilding my 1962 Stingray, and this is what I learned for today that will help. So that's inspiring. And of course, Mary Barra, who is just really, I think, has taught so many of us how we just stay ourselves, true to ourselves for our whole careers, but still can achieve amazing, transformative things. So I look at that and I just think that every opportunity for connection is an ability to learn and be inspired. Oh, I think of Richard Beatty, who I worked with when I was at Ford. He was the one who basically taught me that to achieve anything important in your career, it's really hard. And you probably have to make some sacrifices, but you have to pick those points in life. It was a time when I was working on Mazda and we were setting a whole new strategy. And we had aligned on the strategy of Zoom Zoom back in the day. I know I'm dating myself. And we had to work with the Japanese group and the Europeans and get everyone aligned worldwide. And I was like, oh, I can't do it as a baby marketer at the time. I mean, not knowing. And he's like, you have to cut your vacation short. You have to leave your friends, you're going to Japan, and you're not coming back until you've achieved this. And I was like, I was whining. I have to admit, I was whining a little bit. And he's just looked at me and said, Deborah, there's moments in your career that can be transformative, that can make a true difference in the trajectory of a company and in what you personally can achieve. So he basically was like, you need to buck up and really do it. And I'll never forget those words, because anything that's important and transformative, it takes like your whole heart and soul to get into. You really have to work it. You have to go through relationships. You have to really be in it and be present the whole time. And he taught me that, and I'll be forever grateful for that lesson.
I think that you just brought up a really great point, Deborah, about surrounding yourself with people that will give you the honest, unvarnished truth, but also that thread of inclusivity and connections, right? I think there's a point sometimes in our careers where we forget those before, and we need to remember to stay connected, because again, it's all about that learning and continuous improvement as well. So as you think about your career and some of the most significant moves, you've talked about some of these points of challenge that you've made through your career in your path to the CMO. Were there any failures? Were there any lessons learned that you think would be important to share? Because I think that's probably a misconception, right? It's like, oh, she got there and she never failed it, right? Or there were no, but can you share some of those lessons with everyone on the line today?
Yes, Krysty, painfully, I can. It's actually, as we look back on, as I look back on my career, there's probably more failures and more lessons learned than there are the big moments. And it just shows how hard those, moments are that we really have to put our all into. But, I think of a couple things. I thought of, I remember when I became the CMO of Chrysler. And that was sort of my first big CMO job. And we were really looking at how do we change things and make rapid change and, transform immediately. And I made a decision to move media planning out of Detroit to New York. And I was probably at one of these Adcraft meetings that I was presenting. And I remember the reaction I got from the community here, and realized that, that was an example of trying to get transformation, but going too fast and forgetting about relationships and community and how we do all those things. And so that taught me a lot as we go forward. And it made me realize that it's not really so much changing, who you're working with, it's changing how you work. Probably that's the most important. I think about when I went to McDonald's and I was really, again, it was, massive transformation needed. It was a turnaround situation. We had to have big changes. But in the first 6 months that I was there, I ended up focusing on things. We actually launched something because we were talking about quality and food quality at the time. So we're like, I know we're going to launch this new burger. It's amazing. It'll be made out of sirloin. It's a 1/3 pound, not a 1/4 pound. It'll be huge and big and delicious and everything. And it was all that, but it did absolutely nothing for the business. And what I realized was that sometimes if we focus on something that's too small, that can't affect the scale and the overall trajectory, especially as marketers, where we get, I know in the past I've gotten really deep into great ideas, but they can't impact the overall trajectory. So that taught me to really look at things that can really impact the business overall. And if you can do that at the things that are most important to the largest amount of consumers, you're likely to have bigger success. So after we went through that stage, we then launched All Day Breakfast, which hit everybody and was able to jumpstart the turnaround and bring people back into the restaurants like we hadn't seen in years. So I think those things are really important as I have learning. So I could go on, but all I could tell you is that, I think that of my weeks, days, months, there's probably failures outnumber successes at least 3 or 4 to 1.
Well, but I think that's important, right? Because everyone listening needs to understand you can bounce back from that, right? There are learnings in the failure and you take that and you apply it the next time, right? So that you do get to success. And the success then is that much sweeter once you get there. Now, you mentioned just now changing how we work. And I'm going to use the word that we've heard, I think, for the last 14 months, unprecedented. We've had an unprecedented year. And everyone has had to pivot. Everyone has had to fully embrace technology and working from home. So how would you say that your management style has adjusted to this new normal? And as you think about that, what then is the future of the global business as we look post-COVID?
Just another easy question from Krysty. I think what was incredible about this past year, and, I can only speak to the experience at General Motors. I know everyone else was dealing with it too, but what was incredible, I think we all stopped and said, oh my God, we have to work completely differently because it was just that moment in time. And because of that, the organization became much more supportive of each other. I think we all realized we had to be very aligned on what we were doing. We had to pivot much faster, and then we had to be much closer. So we started having, and I'm sure everyone did, but daily meetings that were shorter but faster and with key groups. And all of a sudden that brought us all together. So we had this feeling that while we're physically further apart, we're actually feel emotionally closer together and more aligned. So that was sort of the first aha. And then it made me realize overall that despite all the challenges of last year, it was a special moment for many of us to slow down, reassess, and get reconnected and grounded again. So I know for myself, I started really spending a lot more time with people, listening more about their lives. I love the fact that we're working from home because I can see you, I can see, if there's kids or dogs or animals in the background. I got such a greater sense of who everyone was that we were working with, which then gave more appreciation for what they were doing and where their ideas were coming from and all of that. And I think that led to the greatest burst of creativity that, at least in my time at General Motors, that I had seen. And I really give credit to Mary Barra for providing an environment that was really supportive of that. I think we tried to make decisions and changes, and we did simple things like, for the first time in my life, I started when I had something going or took vacation during this time, I put an out of office message on, like simplest thing ever. And I cannot tell you, how much that impacted the whole team. It gave permission which I hadn't even realized people didn't have, to also go out of the office and disconnect, because for all of our sanity, we need to do that. I started telling everyone, like, hey, I'm taking lunch. Like, we're going to do everything we can not to schedule meetings at lunch. And it sounds like such a simple thing, big change. But I think we've all learned together that changes like that, which accommodate our personal lifestyle, help make us more productive, help us align together and be more supportive of each other in these big times of transformation. And we have to keep that. I'm really committed to keeping that. Everyone on my team knows I'm a huge fan of working from home. I never want to go back to the way we were working before. No. And, I think we're all going to have to see this together. I give huge also kudos to all of my team, because, we worked through it together. This wasn't like I didn't have the answers. Everyone was so helpful in really pushing each other on how do we do this? What do we do? Like Ben Taft helped us stay socially together. He did trivia nights, which took us so much extra time, not part of his job description at all, but just allowed us to kind of connect in different virtual ways.
Well, because you miss those moments in the hallway, right? You miss those moments just stopping by or walking in, from the parking lot together, and to have those kind of connections, again, talking about connections and authenticity, it does help to keep us all connected. And everyone, when Deborah's talking about the we, I mean, it includes the agency. We mirror what GM does as well. And I would say that about any agency client relationship, right? And so if there's a dysfunctional dynamic, everything is dysfunctional. And this has been just honestly seamless. We have worked together. And I think more than anything, like you were saying, we allow grace, right? Oh, I got to get to my kid's baseball game. I've got to get this. And I got to admit, Deborah, I'm with you. Working from home is great because it does allow you to still be present, right, for your family, but you can make that game, that track practice, you can grab that call when you're running out. So it is that balance. I think work-life balance has improved significantly, actually.
Yeah, and we forget in all of our urgency to get the job done that that's just as important. And it's so, yeah, I was like, I got to spend an incredible year. It's my son's senior year. And he was home because some of you know that he was boarding before, because I was always on traveling and on the road. And I started a relationship this year, and all these things happened because we had the time, or we made the time to focus.
The time. Yes.
And I think I love it when I hear from you or anyone else who's like, okay, I got to go right now. I got to do my kid's game. You're like, go. Like, yes. The work will get done. I have total confidence, and the work will be better because everyone feels that they got to put their priorities right.
Absolutely. So as we think about that, and as we think of this post-COVID world, we know we also are pivoting for evolving customer needs. And what role do you think GM will play in that space?
If anything, I talk a lot about ventilator time. Like, we learned that basically, if you can learn how to produce and manufacture ventilators in 30 days, like, any marketing challenge is doable. So I think we're permanently on ventilator time. And that's how we have to think about everything, because we know the consumer is changing rapidly and adapting, and, we're all adapting quickly. And so we have to stay ahead of that. And I think that recognition has completely transformed the way that General Motors is thinking about the vehicle experience, the ownership experience. We're focused on how do we use these capabilities, and the fact that we're moving to an EV world and everything is on software platforms, to be able to adopt and make experiences special, make them intuitive, responsive, faster, adapting, and really build in agility along the way. And every time we do that, we're seeing incredible responsiveness. So I am so enthusiastic. I think it's the most exciting time to be in this industry of any time. And I've been in it and out of it for many, many years in my lifetime. And I think we will truly take it to that next level of transformation. So it will look completely different in 10 years than what it was when many of us started. And that, to me, that's worth all the time and effort and the hard work that we put in.
I absolutely agree. The transformation that we are seeing firsthand it's absolutely exciting, right? So we're gonna pivot a bit, and there's a transformation, I would say, socially, that we know needs to happen, right? And in this post-COVID world, we can't dismiss racial inequality, right? And America's systemic racism. And, you know, when I think back to the last year, obviously, you go back and you think about the death of George Floyd. And then immediately thereafter, you know, your CEO, Mary Barra, came out with other US companies condemning racial inequality, right? And she publicly shared a letter that she had shared with the 164,000 GM employees, right? Which I thought was just really, you know, that vulnerability of sharing that out and putting that out, where she wrote that she was impatient and disgusted and emphasized the need to individually and collectively drive change. She then immediately started by commissioning an inclusion advisory board, right, with the goal of making GM, which I'm getting chills right now about to say it, GM, the most inclusive company in the world. And for my role, you know, while I am EVP Executive Account Director, I also lead our DE&I efforts, right, with McCann World Group here in Detroit and coordinating with our other GM agencies. And as we can tell, as a stunning African-American woman, right, I'm dealing with this every day, right? So I know firsthand the work that you guys are doing, and I'm excited by that work. I'm seeing it every day. But with all this going on, we then see the recent full page ad, right, from several Black-owned, you know, executives. And so as you think about that, what is GM's view on this cultural shift that we know we all need to be a part of and make, but what is GM's view and role in that?
We truly believe, and with Mary's direction, that we are at an inflection point, and it's incumbent upon all of us to make change happen. And you know, you've been in the industry like I have for a good while, and I think we can all see there is bias and unconscious bias, or even some systemic things that we all have to stay committed to work through. And why? Because the world will be a better place as we learn and do all this. So we're fundamentally committed. What I would say is, frankly, the journey is hard. I think it's hard for all of us on all sides, because we have to learn. And that was where, back to my first point, like one of the things about, you know, working in this environment, industry, et cetera, we have to constantly learn, and we have to constantly set aspiration to do better. I think, you know, the call out that happened to GM is just a signal. We're increasing, but are we doing the right things? Are we listening enough? Are we engaging enough? And we're really, again, committed to that and to learning. I have personally spent the last year, I thought I was, you know, well educated and knew a lot of American history. I have learned so much. I started with white fragility. I moved into how to be an anti-racist. And then I am reading Caste right now. If no one has read it, you know, it's an absolute must read to help us really change our perception of what's happened in our country, and how we can bring the beauty of everyone into more productivity, creativity, how we dramatically change things. And I think it's incumbent upon each of us to take that responsibility and make that change happen. And I know that I'm determined and really committed to doing that. And, you know, Krysty, you're giving me insights. We've had so many good conversations where I've appreciated how much people have taught me and continue to teach me every day. My team itself has really given me full education and helped. And it's kind of, you know, you step back and think, wow, I thought I knew so much, and I don't. And why wasn't I more aware of everything that was going on and how people felt? So I think, again, we will make fundamental change. It's a journey. We've got to really work hard. I could not be more proud of our team. Telva Magruder is our Chief Diversity Officer. You know, she's amazing. She's come in and really helped set a new path. We promoted Tarshina Armstrong, who many of you will meet, to our Director of Diversity Marketing. She's amazing. Heather Stewart, who you all know, is an incredible leader, fully committed to making substantial change happen. And like we're doing on all aspects of the company at GM, this is another. Mary set us a goal. She's like, we are going to aspire to be the most inclusive company in the world. How do we do that? So and our agency partners. I mean, I've seen so much new growth and change, and it feels very different from things that we talked about 10 years ago in the industry. So I think together we'll do that. And I think that we as Adcraft should challenge ourselves. Detroit should be the center of this transformation.
I agree.
You know,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
let's set ourselves that huge challenge and say, all right, well, how are we going to do this here? How are we really going to do this? Because I know that growing up in Detroit, I think there was a lot of systemic racism that it was very present in, you know, my upbringing and everything, which I keep going back to my mother. I'm like, seriously, Mom? Like, really? And then she's like, that's why I educated you. So like you could learn, and, you know, fair. So, you know, responsibility back here. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we will have, and our country and our community needs to keep pushing forward.
Yes, I completely agree. And so I feel like we've set the challenge out for all of our fellow ad professionals on the line. Let's make Detroit the center of that change for sure. Okay, let's do some fun stuff. So earlier this year, GM unveiled a new logo, which for those of you that have never been a part of a logo process, it can be daunting, right? Because that is the mark for that company, right? And but you did it to symbolize the shift to electrification, right? And this new General Motors, you know, that is evolving. And often subtle logo changes happen over time, right? It's a shift in color. You know, I was a part of kind of polishing the blue oval back in the day, and it was just a little polish. But this is substantial. So since we're all ad professionals, what were the first discussions like, right? I mean, you know, you don't just wake up in the morning and say, hey, let's change the logo. What were those first discussions like? And then how was it received by the GM community, and specifically the GM design community, right? Because they've been using this logo and designing with it. What was that like?
It really has been an incredible journey, and it basically happened it started over 4 years ago when Mary issued the challenge that, that we envision a world of zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. And that was like, bam, huge,
Yes. Yeah.
about how, and since then the company's been working on transformation at all levels, and how we do the work and how we organize around the work. You guys know we've had a lot of different changes, and all right, we're gonna reorganize differently. But I think we're in a good groove. So when that happened, and then we looked at what happened over the last year, and we issued this challenge and aspiration of being the most inclusive company in the world, which has so much meaning for how we interact and engage with our customers and where we are. Then the conversation inside started becoming, well, are we admitting outward what we're doing inside? Are we really showing that? So we went to our design team, and for those of you who know, it's part of the reason I'm on the Cranbrook board. I love design. I can't do creatively things myself, but I love architecture. I love design. I love the fact that, here in Michigan was the beginning of mid-century modern design, which is so timeless and incredible. And that Saarinen did the design dome, which is behind me, which is why I love this photo. And, and what we have to do there. So we went to the design team led by Sharon Gauchi, who is absolutely brilliant, working under Mike Simcoe, and said, this is something that we could go outside, but it seems like because it's so personal about us, we should do it with our internal team. And then I want to give kudos to McCann, because you supported us, and like, it's not just one, but the team came, and Sharon and her team really took that on and said, it's a huge responsibility when you're going to change a logo that's renowned and has this whole feeling and look that everyone knows. And it was a big risk. And I really give Mary and Mark huge credit, because they are so committed to the transformation, to showing what an inclusive and approachable company that GM is, how much we've changed, how we do work, how we act inside, that they felt that also that it was the right time. And the board was supportive, and Sharon and her team took it on and gave a nod to our heritage. So you still see that, it is still in a soft the soft square
Yes.
and everything, but then brought the dynamic feeling and energy of the future that we're looking at, an all electric future, something that's transformative, built on software, really very different interactions with our customers and where we want to go. And that's where we decided, it's always that thing, you do all the work inside and then you have to put it out to the world. But something we found with a logo transformation, it really has to reflect the company. And it's all about how we feel about where we're going. So there are always people who love it, people who don't like it, people are like, what, you've changed my bedrock. But I think it was the moment to really signal that we're at an inflection point. And signal an inflection point for the company and our industry overall.
So one of the things you touched on earlier and just then as well is how we work. And so when I think about late last year and you guys coming to us and saying, hey, Super Bowl, right? What was that first discussion like for you? I mean, because the work that came out of that with Will Ferrell, right, was so imaginative and fun. And so when you think about that briefing process, when you think about the changes we've made, what was that like first internally, but then also with us as the agencies?
It was an incredible experience. And, Mark Royce had challenged us. He said, let's unleash our creativity. And I had always come back to him and said, I cannot believe how much passion is in this company. Like when I go around and talk to different groups or meet someone who's a subject matter expert, I'm blown away by how much passion, fun, and energy there is. And we sort of said, we want everyone else to be able to see that, because I know from afar, sometimes people don't feel that coming out of General Motors. So, that was sort of the catalyst for it. And then we thought about how we could do this. And how much time, and I'm sure we spend on briefs, right? Yes, we want to get every little necessary piece. And like, if anyone thinks of anything, we're going to say, well, it was in the brief. Yes, and so, we threw out that whole process because we were like, is that perhaps inhibiting our creativity and our capability? And we, the secret was just keeping it so simple. And we said, let's just go out with 4 simple criteria, like come up with an original idea, make sure that it's visually compelling, that it's emotionally compelling, that it really stops you in your track. And of course, make sure that it has one point that we cover. Simple. Amazing, right? And it was the simplest brief, we've ever done. And we gave that to everyone. And then the creativity and, I just give kudos to everyone. I think, that McCann and Chuck came up with the Will Ferrell idea and Knowing Norway, which was probably the most brilliant idea as we're talking about starting a movement to challenge people's perceptions of EV. Leo Burnett came up with an incredible idea for Cadillac, the Edward Scissorhands way to demonstrate not only the new lyric as the electric vehicle, but also what Super Cruise can do and what that experience really feels like. It was probably one of the proudest moments for me on my creative side of my career, because I think that everyone stood back and let that creativity unleash. I think it was also a reflection of the times of how closely we've all been working and where we need to go. And finally, it was a reflection of GM, like what we're really like inside and out. The teamwork, I think, our groups with the agencies, we worked as one. It was just such a seamless, it's to me, the way relationships should be built and how we make things happen, and showed how fast we need to work. And, the teams that they got that done during COVID times, like shooting things in creativity in Will Ferrell's backyard. I mean, most of that was shot in Will Ferrell's backyard with green screen. And he was incredible because he was emotionally, engaged and had purpose with it and what he wanted to do. And, so I think we all should think about that, because to me, it shows the really powerful moments of good storytelling still, the core parts of our craft overall. I love Adcraft because it is a craft and it's magical and it's incredibly powerful. And with all of our sophistication, data and analytics, which are good, we also need that part in our lives, because those create, joint human moments where we're communing together.
Yes, absolutely. So let's look at one of our human moments, right? So along with the launch of the new logo, GM kicked off a new campaign, Everybody In. And so I want to take a look here. So just give me a moment. I'm going to share my screen, everyone. And let's hear from Little E. Isn't that awesome? Okay, let me get us back on screen.
Hey, Krysty, unfortunately, we did not see your screen, but we can share the spot after.
OMG, did you hear the sound?
I didn't, and I wasn't gonna say anything because I'm like, she looked so like she was seeing it, so I would try again.
We practiced this multiple times. Are you sure I can run it again? Would you like to see Little E? Because I'm the only one. That's why I got it. Okay. My apologies. I've checked all the boxes.
Now it's coming.
Okay. This is the new world, everyone. Technology.
You want to see something all electric? We're driving it everywhere. We are Generation E. Ultium. It's a battery that charges fast. It has more energy than me. We want smart, clean, and safe. And powerful. The electric picture starts now.
Perfect. This is what happens, and it's okay. We're all friends here.
Love it.
So
another day in the life of virtual world.
Absolutely. So, with the Everybody In theme play out this year, I mean, do you see this campaign continuing? And I already know the answer to this, but so this is a loaded question, right? And as we think about this as well, do you see, more importantly, an application for this with specific vehicle brands, or is this specifically a GM corporate message?
Yeah, we've really separated. We think we as an industry have a lot of work to do to get to the pivot point for EV consideration. So General Motors, we view our responsibility for the GM brand is to start opening that up, challenging perceptions, starting to normalize, show what EVs can offer to the world, because they're exciting and it's a new driving and ownership experience. And then the brands, as they have their specific vehicles, will take that role on and offer those specific vehicles, because we're going to make EVs for everybody. So we'll have 30 by 2025. They'll take that role on. So I see it right now as some, work to normalize the idea of EVs and introduce them to everyone and start challenging consideration. And then the brands take that themselves.
Perfect. We've got one comment and one question. The comment says, no question, just a comment. How awesome to see and hear these two very smart, focused, and completely remarkable women. Leaders in Detroit, thank you for all you are doing to transform our industry. What an inspiration. So we need that. I need that framed so we both can have that.
That's thank you so much. That was super nice.
That's so nice. And then we have a question, Deborah. Do you see logo changes for the vehicle brands?
No, we don't. We're not anticipating it, although, in the future, as their business transforms as well, you never rule it out. But no, this was just important for General Motors as the company overall, because we're really signifying that transformation. So for the moment, no, nothing else.
And we actually have a really great question. And I think this is about really focusing on pivoting, right? So speaking of adjusting quickly, how has the current challenge of the chip shortage affected near-term marketing approach, right? Because that is something, we obviously have those discussions. How has it affected the near-term marketing approach?
Yeah, I think it's requiring a lot of agility from all of our core brand teams, and they're rising to the occasion. What's really interesting right now, the vehicle market's super hot. I mean, there is a lot of demand out there. So there have been innovations in how we can make sure that customers know when vehicles are coming, what's coming when, how we're doing that, more availability in terms of different experiences if someone wants to go all online or not. So I think that we're going to just see that constant pivoting and agility depending on the situation. I think if we've learned nothing at all, we know there's no normal anymore. We're not getting back to normal. There's something that's happening in our global, chain in our world all the time. So we just need to be ready for that and reacting as quickly as possible. And of course, it's changing. What vehicles will focus on in advertising. Day supply is really aggressive right now, and it will continue to be there. But we have high hopes that there's resiliency also in the semiconductor industry and where things will happen. So just going on a day-to-day basis and managing it with our awesome dealer network.
Perfect. And as we think about change as well, we've got an evolving media environment. So what's the one thing that you think is continually on your mind as you think about kind of this ever-changing media landscape we've got?
There's so many things, but I think, the two big things are privacy issues that are coming up. That's a lot how we deal with the cookieless world and where we go. Because at the same time that those are happening, we know that personalization and these more direct experiences are incredibly valuable to our customers. And it goes back to our inclusivity message earlier, that there is no one size fits all. And so we have to be able to do that. How we adapt and do that in a cookieless world means that we have to change how we interact with customers from the get-go. The other piece of that is how do we deliver these personalized experiences? Capabilities are going to develop more and more for that, not only in traditional marketing like dynamic creative and things, but like with also over-the-air updates and what your vehicle can be in a year versus what it was when you purchased it. So those are the things that I'm constantly thinking about and talking to my team about and saying, how do we I guess the opportunity that I see is we're going to create that next step and next phase, and the whole landscape is changing.
Perfect. So it's 12:50. We've got a few more minutes. Let's turn to the vehicle brands. So obviously 2020 was a unique year for vehicle reveals and awards. What would you consider some of the key learnings and wins for vehicle launches moving forward?
Yeah. I think the key learnings, when we look at, I think the brands have done an incredible job this year in adapting. They really push to make everything much more entertainment focused than what we might typically have done as we're speaking to ourselves in the industry. And I think that was a big hit. The Hummer launches were the largest number of impressions and engagement in our history. We think it probably set new parameters and bars across the industry for how people are engaging and what they're expecting. I think the use of influencers and their media channels has been a huge aha this week, or this year, in the past year, as we look at how we go to market and bring information. I think these authentic conversations and the authentic discussions are critical. And we have to keep pushing ourselves to that, because with so many people with engineering backgrounds and all this amazing product to talk about, everyone still wants to talk about 10,000 things. And as customers, I'm like, there's probably 2 things for everything that I'm really, so how do we get those right and do it? So I think those have all been learnings. I'm really proud of the work that Cadillac and Chevy have done on launching their Cadillac Live and Chevy My Way, which are the virtual showrooms, which bring our product specialists to everyone on their time and allow you to interact in a very safe way with the vehicles and ask personalized questions, along with doing one-to-many events and things. I think that's going to transform the way that we all think about going to market and having information exchanged and valued. And we've just seen huge leaps and bounds in digital capabilities, visualizers, et cetera, which again, bring the personalized experience to our customers in whatever way they want. So I think there have been just a huge, enormous learning and creativity that, I mean, I could talk forever about this, but I do have to put another plug in because, you know, we started a whole new CX organization at General Motors led by Travis Hester, who's brilliant. And his team just completely redid all of the vehicle My Brand apps. And it's really the first step in our journey on that side, making the experience so much more intuitive, focused, seamless, fast, responsive. And for anyone who has a GM vehicle, I think it makes it awesome. Even my 18-year-old son was like, oh my God, this is great. You know, and for those of us who have kids, like, you know, they give us a hard time all the time.
Yes,
so,
they do.
You know, I knew that we were onto something with that. So I think this all just shows all the great work, creativity, innovation that's coming out of all the brands. And, you know, they're just unleashed.
So we've got a couple of more comments, and then I'd like to do rapid fire to wrap us up. So we've got a comment. So proud to work with you both. You're awesome, from Megan. And Anonymous.
Right back at you.
Right back at you. And then for you, Deborah, your leadership on the Super Bowl brief was absolutely the catalyst to unleash creativity. Thank you. Please let us know if you see things your agencies can do better to repeat this really successful formula. So I read it all out. No. Yes, we're repeating it every day. We've got this. Thank you very much for your time. Let's do some rapid fire questions now. What are you reading right now?
I'm reading a book by Isabel Wilkerson called Cast, and it really goes into, you know, the systems that have been put in place in the U.S. That are, it's stunning. I think everyone should read it. It is the most mind-opening book that I've read, and a must for everybody.
What's your comfort food?
Oh, chocolate.
Chocolate.
I just love dark
chocolate. Is it milk
chocolate.
Or is it dark? Or
no, dark all the way. Dark with nuts, dark with caramel, dark with bacon. I mean, basically dark with anything. So coconut. Yeah, and I'm really trying hard because, you know, I think what this whole year has taught me is you know, eating healthy, no sugar, all that is really critical to also your mental health and, you know, how we stay and deal with all these challenges. But I just love good chocolate.
Dark chocolate. We heard it. What's your favorite vehicle color?
Oh, I actually love right now the matte gray that's coming out. If you've seen it on the Corvette, and also you sort of see that on the new Hummer. It's just a stunning, beautiful, gorgeous color selection that I think we'll see for a while.
That is a beautiful color. Historically, I've always been about a triple black car. And I just recently got, last fall, the deep forest green, the CT5. And that when you walk up on it, it kind of, you think it's so dark, but it's such a beautiful green. So it's my first time driving that green car, but I love it and get compliments all the time.
Yeah. My favorite interiors are actually the white interiors too, which everyone does. But I mean, Cadillac is making some beautifully stunning, you know, light interiors that are
they are
gorgeous. So highly recommend.
What's in your watch list?
Oh, on my watch list?
Yes.
I am watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier right now, Disney Plus, all the Marvel things. We're going through that because I'm a huge fan of those. And what else? I'm kind of, I could actually use ideas from people. I think I've watched I'm a huge, you know, content fan. I just love everything. So I need some new ideas. I just turned on The Nevers, interesting. Of course, Queen's Gambit and all that, but it all seems like such old news already. So
right, it does. The moment it comes out, it seems like it's old news. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I got hooked into the Marvel series again by watching WandaVision, which I thought was really interesting. And
yes, it was.
You know, Disney has just done an amazing job of ramping up their content and monetizing it. And you know, I think I like to spend a lot of time there to really watch and see how they're doing.
Yeah, they've done a great job of that. And then lastly, what was the last concert you went to?
Oh my God. Last concert, like what are those anymore?
What are those, right?
Sarah McLaughlin was the last one I saw here at Pine
Okay.
Knob a couple years ago already. That was unbelievable. Made my sister cry. The music was so beautiful.
Oh,
To see that.
wow. Yes. And we will be back there again sometime soon. I'm sure.
I
So
miss it. Yes,
I miss it tremendously as well. So Deborah, again, thank you for your time. We are nearing the witching hour. I will turn it back over to you, Andrew.
Well, thank you, ladies. That was an awesome hour. I can't believe we're already at the hour. That flew by. So thank you. Krysty, I think you're clearly very good at account management, but if you ever think of a career shift, I think a professional host or a news personality or something is in your future. That was very, very well done.
Well, thank you.
And Deborah, thank you for, further inspiring us and, tackling some of the tough topics that sometimes people shy away from, and also sharing a bit of your personal side. One thing that has come through this whole GM series is just how well you and your teams work together, how much you enjoy each other, and how your agencies play into that. I'm thinking back from, talking with Emily Shahady and Grant and John Kowalczyk and up and down from Carrie and Colin. The one thing that really came through over this series was how inspired they are to create amazing work for their clients every single day. So a huge kudos to you and all of your agency partners, because you're really setting the bar pretty high in Detroit.
It's fun. Work can be fun. We got to have fun at work.
Yes.
Exactly.
Sure.
And lastly, I just wanted to thank, from Melissa Grady to Laura Thornton, Megan Stuke, and then finishing out with you, Deborah. Came across a quote from, an industry giant, Sheryl Sandberg, and she said, I'm sure you're familiar with this, that in the future, there will be no female leaders. There will just be leaders. And I'd like to say, if this series didn't showcase that GM is again ahead of that curve, I don't know what would. So thank you guys. Thanks for all you do. And thank you for continuing to support Adcraft. We hope you guys all had a great hour with us, and we look forward to seeing you at our next events.
Great. Thanks for everything,
everyone.
everybody. Bye.
Take care.
Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.